Rain hammered against the glass walls of Hong Kong International Airport, turning the night outside into a blurred sheet of gray. Inside, the terminal buzzed with the usual movement, but something in the air felt heavier than it should. Mei Ling stepped in, brushing the water from her jacket. As a cabin crew member, she had walked through this airport countless times. Tonight, the familiar place felt strangely unfamiliar. The cold in the air seemed sharper. The lights above her hummed a little louder. She passed through security without thinking. Her routine was automatic, almost mechanical. The officer scanned her ID, nodded, and she continued onward. Everything appeared normal. When she entered the bathroom to fix her hair and uniform, she noticed how tired she looked. Her reflection stared back at her with eyes that seemed older than they should be. She washed her hands, took a long breath, and stepped back into the hallway. Her phone vibrated. A message. Unknown number. Enjoy your flight. Are you happy? She stopped walking. The words felt wrong. Not threatening, not friendly, just eerie. She looked around, expecting to see someone glancing her way, but nobody even noticed her. Passengers hurried past, focused on their own flights and worries. She locked the phone and kept walking toward her gate. The hallway seemed quieter than before. Even with people around, she felt strangely isolated, as if a thin layer of distance separated her from everyone else. That was when she saw the door. It sat at the end of the corridor, where no door had ever been. Black metal. Dull. Old. Out of place in a modern airport. Something dark stained the surface, almost like dried blood. And written across the door in uneven red letters. Do not open this door. Do not open this door. She blinked, confused. She knew this airport. Every hallway. Every gate. Every maintenance door. But she had never seen this one before. She looked around. People walked directly past it. Not a single person turned their head or reacted. It was as if the door existed only for her. A cold shiver moved along her back. She took a step backward, trying to pull her eyes away from it, but her attention kept returning as if something behind the door was silently drawing her in. Then it began. Knock. A soft, slow knock. She froze. Knock. Knock. Her breath caught in her throat. The knock came again. This time sharper. Closer. Knock. And then a voice, faint but clear, speaking directly from the other side. Mei Ling, open the door. Her heart almost stopped. She stepped back instinctively, almost tripping over her own feet. She whispered, barely breathing. How do you know my name? The voice responded with something softer, something that felt almost like a plea. I am still here. I cannot leave. Please open the door. The hallway around her seemed to fall silent. The airport noise faded into a distant echo. She stood alone, staring at a door nobody else could see, listening to a voice nobody else could hear. And for the first time in her life, Mei Ling felt the overwhelming certainty that something behind that door was meant for her. Something waiting. Something desperate. Something wrong. Mei Ling forced herself to breathe slowly as she walked away from the forbidden door. She told herself it was nothing. A trick of the light. A shadow of her own tired mind. Anything. As long as she did not turn around again. The corridor of Hong Kong International Airport felt colder than before. The hum of the fluorescent lights above her head sounded deeper, almost metallic, like something vibrating behind the walls. She clutched her passport and hurried toward gate 36. She needed people. Noise. Normality. When she arrived at her gate, the digital board flickered. Her eyes narrowed. Flight 2118 Hong Kong dollars to Tokyo. Delayed. She stared at it for a moment, confused. The delay extended again, changing from 1 hour to 2, then to 3. The screen glowed a pale sickly color that made her stomach tighten. She took a deep breath and forced herself toward a nearby cafe. She found a small table in the corner where the lights were dim and ordered a hot coffee. The warmth of the cup steadied her hands, but not her heartbeat. She kept replaying the image of the door in her mind. That black surface. That blood-red warning. Do not open this door. It felt as if the words had been carved inside her skull. She tried to distract herself by scrolling her phone, but her thumb froze when she noticed her reflection in the cafe window. For a split second, she saw the door behind her. It stood there in the middle of the terminal floor, perfectly still, impossible and silent. She blinked. The door was gone. Her breath hitched. Then her phone vibrated. A notification appeared. WhatsApp message received. She frowned. The sender number looked wrong. It was not a normal number. It was a string of symbols mixed with digits. Something like +0313. She had never seen anything like it. When she tapped the profile, the screen flashed white for a moment. A message appeared. There was no text. Only an image. Her heart dropped. It was a photo of herself, sitting in this cafe. The picture was taken from behind her shoulder. She could see the curve of her neck, her hair falling over one side, her hand wrapped around the warm cup. The angle was too close. Whoever took it had been standing right behind her. She whipped her head around. No one. A couple sat far away, talking quietly. A cleaner pushed a cart near the entrance. The barista wiped the counter. No one had taken a picture of her. No one was close enough. Her phone vibrated again. Another image. This time, her blood turned cold. A woman stood in a dark, empty room. Her skin was so pale it looked lifeless. Her long black hair fell like wet ropes across her face. One eye was pitch black. The other was half hidden behind her hair, but it stared directly at the camera with a hollow, empty expression. The background behind the woman made Mei Ling's stomach twist. It was the same cafe. But the tables were gone. The lights were off. Everything was dark. The only thing visible behind the woman was the forbidden black door. Mei Ling dropped her phone. The clatter echoed across the cafe and made people turn and stare. Her fingers shook violently as she picked it up again. Another message appeared. You can see it now. Her heart slammed against her chest. Another message. You cannot leave. Her breath came shallow and fast. Then the final message. Remember me. Her vision blurred for a moment and she pressed her shaking hand against her forehead. Remember who? Remember what? She tried to stand but her legs felt weak. Her coffee cup trembled in her other hand. She could feel something cold moving behind her, something she could not see. The cafe suddenly felt smaller. The air felt heavier. Every sound around her became distant and dull. She felt a pressure in her ears, like something was whispering behind her. She hurried out of the cafe, almost stumbling. When she reached the hallway, her breath caught in her throat. The forbidden door stood at the end of the corridor again. Black. Silent. Waiting. No one else looked at it. No one reacted. People walked past it like it did not exist. Mei Ling pressed her hand over her mouth to stop a scream that tried to escape. The whispering grew louder. She could not understand the words, but the tone was desperate. Pleading. Calling her. She backed away slowly and bumped into something. When she turned, she saw a piece of paper stuck to her coat. A small folded talisman. She had never seen it before. Her fingers trembled as she unfolded it. Inside was a pentagram drawn in red ink. Symbols she did not recognize curled around the edges like veins. And in the center, written in bold sharp strokes, Mei Ling. Cursed. Her chest tightened painfully. The airport lights flickered. The hallway darkened. The door at the end seemed to pulse, like something behind it was breathing. She could no longer tell if she was awake. She could no longer tell if she was safe. The last thing she heard before the light stabilized was a faint whisper drifting through the corridor. Open the door. Mei Ling opened her eyes slowly. For a moment, she did not know if she was awake or trapped inside another one of those nightmares. The world around her felt wrong. The warm hum of Hong Kong International Airport was gone. The voices of travelers were gone. The sound of luggage wheels sliding across the floor was gone. Everything was gone. She sat up in her chair, breathing heavily. The airport was empty. Not late-night quiet. Not early morning quiet. Completely empty. The lights flickered weakly above her head. Half the screens were dark. The others glowed with a pale broken static. Shadows stretched unnaturally across the floor like long black fingers reaching toward her feet. The air felt frozen and heavy, as if the entire building had been abandoned for decades. Hello, her voice cracked softly. The sound echoed across the emptiness, bouncing back toward her as if the walls were made of metal. Her heart tightened. She stood up, her legs shaking, and looked around. Everyone was gone. Every seat empty. Every store closed. Every gate silent. Only one thing remained. The door. It stood directly in front of her, in the center of the terminal, no longer hiding in reflections or shadows. Pure black. Perfectly still. Dead silent. It seemed to swallow the light around it. Her throat tightened. Her hands trembled as she took one step back. Then another. She felt something warm running down her forehead. She reached up. Her fingers touched something rough and burning. She found a restroom mirror and leaned forward with trembling breath. A pentagram was carved into her skin. It burned like fresh fire. The edges were red and swollen, the center darkening into a charred mark shaped like an occult star. She staggered back from the mirror, gasping. What is happening to me? The moment she whispered the words, the temperature dropped. Her breath turned white. She hugged her arms around herself, shivering. And then, the memories began. At first they flickered like broken film. A girl crying. A storm outside. A phone ringing. Mei Ling's own voice telling someone, I cannot help you right now. I do not want to be involved. The image sharpened. A young woman, soaked in rain, standing outside Mei Ling's apartment door. Her hair plastered to her face. Her eyes red. Her voice pleading. Mei Ling, please. I need you. I do not know where to go. Mei Ling had stood inside her warm apartment, her hands shaking. She had been angry. Tired. She had not wanted to hear another story about the woman's boyfriend, her depression, her panic, her pain. She had yelled through the door. Leave me alone. I cannot deal with you anymore. The friend had knocked again, weaker this time. Please. I am scared, something is wrong with me, please do not leave me alone tonight. Mei Ling remembered turning off the lights. She remembered putting in her earbuds. She remembered ignoring the knocking. The next morning, she woke to dozens of missed calls from a stranger. The girl had died. A tragic accident. Or maybe something else. Mei Ling had buried the memory. Buried the guilt. Buried the entire friendship. Now the truth was crawling back. She clutched her head, shaking violently as the memories returned in sharp, painful waves. No, 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 this cannot be happening. Her phone vibrated. She froze. The sound echoed through the empty terminal like a scream. Her hands hesitated before she picked it up. Incoming call. Hong Kong Airlines desk. Her heart leapt with desperate hope. A voice came through the speaker, clear and normal. "Miss Mei Ling, where are you? The gate is open. People are already boarding. Please come now." Her breath shook. Boarding? People? Normal voices? She spun around. The terminal remained empty. Silent. Frozen. Dead. She swallowed hard. I do not see anything. I do not see anyone. The airport is empty." The voice paused. "Miss Mei Ling, please stop joking. You must come to the gate right now. The plane cannot wait." She hung up, her fingers trembling. Another sound echoed behind her. Something dragging across the floor. Slow. Heavy. Wet. She turned toward the end of the corridor. A gray silhouette crawled along the ground, limbs bending in ways that were not human. Her heart pounded so hard she felt dizzy. The figure dragged itself closer. The shape twitched. Its hair fell forward in long wet strands. Mei Ling backed away slowly, tears filling her eyes. Her breath became shallow and frantic. The dragging stopped. The figure stood up. For a moment, the shadows covered its face. Then the woman lifted her head. One black eye stared at Mei Ling. The other eye was hidden beneath a curtain of hair. Her skin was pale, cracked, lifeless. Her lips were colorless. Her head tilted unnaturally to the side. Mei Ling's legs weakened. Her vision blurred. She stumbled backward until her shoulders hit the cold surface of the forbidden door. The woman stepped closer. Her voice crawled out of her throat in a broken whisper. "Why did you leave me alone that night?" Mei Ling shook her head violently, pressing her hands over her ears, collapsing to her knees. Her screams echoed through the empty airport. The woman took another step. "Remember me." The pentagram on Mei Ling's forehead burned like fire. The door behind her pulsed. And the world went black. There was no sound at first. No scream, no breathing, no heartbeat. Just a heavy, suffocating silence. Then something pulled. It felt like every vein inside Mei Ling's body had turned into wire, and someone was dragging those wires through her skin. Her back slammed against the black surface of the door. The cold burned her spine. Her vision shook. For a moment she saw the airport around her fracture like broken glass. Pieces of light and shadow fell away. And she fell with them. She tumbled through darkness that felt thick, like oil. There was no up, no down, no sense of movement, only the feeling of falling inside something that was alive. She tried to scream, but something filled her mouth, like invisible hands pressing against her tongue and teeth. When she finally hit the ground, the impact did not feel solid. It felt like landing on something soft that did not want her there. She opened her eyes. She was still in Hong Kong International Airport. At least, it looked like it. The ceiling was there. The check-in counters were there. The long glass windows were there. But everything was wrong. The glass was black, like someone had painted over the entire outside world. The floor was covered in a thin layer of gray water that did not move, even when she stepped in it. The screens above her hissed quietly with white static. No letters. No numbers. No flights. Something moved inside the static, shapes that almost looked like faces pressing against the glass of the monitors before fading again. Her throat was dry. "Hello, is anyone here?" Her voice disappeared into the air. It did not echo. It did not bounce back. It simply stopped, like the world swallowed it. She looked around. No people. No staff. No baggage. No sound. Only the door. It stood in the middle of the terminal, exactly where she had seen it last. Black. Silent. The red warning words were gone. The wood and metal surface looked cleaner now, almost polished. The door no longer said "Do not open this door." It did not need to. It had already opened. Her forehead burned. She raised a shaking hand and touched the pentagram carved into her skin. It was no longer red and swollen. The lines had blackened, as if burned deep into her flesh. The skin around it had faded, almost colorless. Her fingers came away stained with a thin gray residue. It felt like ash. "You should not have left me alone." The voice came from behind her. She turned slowly. Her friend stood a few steps away. Her hair was longer than before, tangled and wet, covering one side of her face. The other side was too pale, too smooth, like a mask. One eye was completely black, a dark circle that swallowed the faint light of the terminal. The corners of her lips twitched as if they had forgotten how to move. Mei Ling's knees shook. I am sorry," she whispered. "I did not know. I was angry. I was tired. I did not think you would die," the woman finished for her. The word dropped into the air like a stone sinking into deep water. Mei Ling's chest tightened painfully. Her friend tilted her head slowly to the side. The bones in her neck made a quiet cracking sound, like someone twisting old wood. "You heard me that night," she said. "You heard me crying behind the door. You heard me say I was scared. You heard me say I did not want to be alone. You turned off the light. You put your music on. You waited for my voice to stop." Tears filled Mei Ling's eyes. "I was wrong. I was selfish. I know that. Please. I am sorry. I did not understand you were serious. I thought you wanted attention. I thought you would be fine like every other time. The woman stepped closer. The water on the floor did not move around her feet. It stayed perfectly still, as if it refused to touch her. Her dead eye stared at Mei Ling, black and bottomless. "Sorry does not unlock doors," she whispered. The pentagram on Mei Ling's forehead flared with a sharp, poisonous heat. She clutched her head and fell to her knees, gasping. The lines inside the mark seemed to move, twisting and tightening like small black worms beneath the skin. Something inside the door responded. A deep sound rose behind her, not exactly a noise, more like the feeling of a huge, slow breath being drawn in. The ground beneath her hands pulsed once, then again, like a heartbeat. She tried to crawl away. The floor changed. The smooth tiles turned into something soft and grainy between her fingers. When she looked down, her hands were sinking into a thick layer of ash. Gray dust covered everything, rising in thin clouds around her. The ash clung to her skin, crept under her nails, filled the cracks of her palms. The more she tried to wipe it away, the more it covered her. She looked up. The door was closer now. She did not see it move, but every time her eyes left it, it was nearer. The edges of its frame seemed to shift slightly, as if many hands were pressing against the other side. Her phone rang. The sudden sound in that dead, heavy silence made her flinch. She pulled it out with shaking fingers. Screen cracked. Signal distorted. One notification appeared. Network error. Device not recognized. Below it, a call history list appeared. No airline. No missed calls. No messages. Her name at the top of the screen had been replaced with one word. Unknown. Her picture was gone. When she opened her contact list, only one number remained. There was no name, just a symbol, something she could not read. The contact icon was a small black circle. Her friend's voice came from everywhere now, above her, beside her, inside her own head. Do you know what it feels like to call and call and call until your voice breaks and nobody comes? Mei Ling pressed her hands against her ears, but the voice did not stop. I waited, the woman continued. I knocked until my hands bled. I walked in the rain until I could not feel my legs. I called your name until my throat tore open. You turned your back to the door and slept. Images flickered in front of Mei Ling's eyes. Her friend on a wet street. Her friend's face lit by the screen of her phone. Her shaking hands trying to dial. The street lights spinning. The sound of car brakes. Glass. Metal. Then nothing. The memories hit her so hard she could not breathe. She curled in on herself, arms wrapped around her body, sobbing into the ash. I know, she cried. Please, I know what I did. I was a coward. I was cruel. I thought if I pretended you were fine, then I would not have to feel guilty. I know I left you alone. Please. I do not want to die like this. I do not want to stay here. I am sorry. I am so sorry. The woman knelt in front of her. Her hair fell forward. Mei Ling could smell something underneath the wet, metallic scent, something sour and rotten, like damp clothes left too long in the dark. Cold fingers touched her chin and lifted her face. Who said you were going to die? The woman whispered. Death is mercy. You did not give me mercy. The pentagram on Mei Ling's forehead ignited. The pain was no longer heat. It felt like something was carving deeper, opening her skull, writing inside her brain. She screamed, clawing at her own skin, feeling the lines sink under her fingers, moving beneath the surface like ink being pulled deeper. The door opened behind her. Not with a sound of hinges or wood. It opened like flesh tearing. The air filled with the smell of rust and old water. Something wet slid slowly across the floor from inside, invisible but heavy, like the presence of an unseen tide. Shadows from every corner of the terminal crawled toward the doorway, stretching and twisting until they merged into a single mass that trembled and breathed. The static on the dark screens above thickened, pressing outward as if trying to escape. The woman leaned closer. Her lips moved near Mei Ling's ear. You left me in the dark, she breathed. Now you will stay with me. We do not forget. Not here. Not behind the door. Hands erupted from the ash. Gray, boneless hands, dozens of them, bursting out of the floor around Mei Ling's knees, grabbing her wrists, her ankles, her arms. They were cold and soft, like touching meat that had been soaked in water too long. They pulled her toward the open doorway with slow, steady strength. She fought, kicking, twisting, sobbing until she could not form words. The more she fought, the tighter the hands held her. Her nails broke. Her throat burned. Her eyes filled with blood. The last thing she saw before she slipped into the blackness beyond the door was her friend's face, tilting slowly to one side, the black eye watching her without pity. For a heartbeat, the woman's features softened. There was something behind the emptiness, a memory of the girl she had been before the curse. Then it vanished. The door closed. Silence returned. The ash settled. The airport remained empty. Only the faint outline of a pentagram glowed for a few seconds on the surface of the door, then faded like heat from cooling metal. Somewhere else, in a different version of Hong Kong International Airport, staff checked their screens and schedules. Is everyone boarded? A supervisor asked. Yes, another replied, scrolling through the list. All passengers seated. No delays. Any missing cabin crew? The man squinted at the monitor in front of him. No, he said slowly. No one is missing. All staff accounted for. What about Mei Ling? Someone asked. The man frowned. Who? Mei Ling. The cabin crew member. She was on the rotation for tonight. He searched her name. Nothing appeared. He tried again. No record. No ID. No file. Maybe you remember wrong, he said. There is no one with that name on the system. On a different screen, in a quiet office, someone opened an old incident report about a young woman who had died years earlier. The file was corrupted. Her name blurred. Her picture would not load. It was like both of them had been smudged out of the world. The rain outside the airport fell against the glass as usual. Passengers walked through the bright terminal, tired and impatient, looking at their phones, dragging suitcases behind them. The world moved forward as if nothing had changed. In a forgotten corner near an old gate that was rarely used, there was a maintenance door. It was black. Plain. Unremarkable. No one paid attention to it. No one read the faint, almost invisible marks near the bottom of the frame, where the paint seemed slightly darker, like something had been written there and then scratched away. A young woman walked past, pulling her carry-on behind her, headphones in her ears. She hurried, checking her ticket, trying not to miss her flight. For a fraction of a second, she shivered. She could not explain why. She paused and turned her head, looking down the empty side corridor, feeling something like a breath on the back of her neck. At the end of that corridor, in the thin gap between the door and the floor, something moved. A shadow, long and thin, like hair sliding slowly across the crack. From the other side of the door, a voice whispered. Very soft. Almost kind. Open the door. The woman shook her head, rubbed her arms, and hurried away toward the light and the crowds, convincing herself it was only the air conditioning. Behind the door, in a world of ash and static and endless darkness, two figures waited. One with a black eye. One with a burning mark on her forehead. They were not alive. They were not dead. They were simply there. And they would be there for a very long time. Waiting for the next person who could see the door,